Well, bakers, this week I'm very excited to share a recipe with you for corn tortillas. I absolutely love these tortillas and I really wanted to share them with you because I know you'll love them too. It's a very simple dough. We're going to start out by mixing it by hand with just a few ingredients, just 4 actually. So into our bowl here, I'm going to add some Masa Harina. Now this is typically what you'd use to make corn tortillas. Masa Harina means dough flour and it is made from ground masa. You can buy lots of different brands out there. This isn't instant masa, this is just regular into the bowl. Now, these are corn tortillas, but it's a little bit of a mix. It's corn and white flour. I'm adding in white flour because it makes them more pliable and it makes them lighter. So they're not as they're easier to eat and they're not as starchy and they're a little bit lighter, a little bit bubblier. So they're not 100% corn. Now, we're going to add in a little bit of salt. I'm going to give that a mix up by hand, just like that. And then into this, I'm going to add in some olive oil. When researching this recipe, I saw that the best tortillas and the recommendations I got that I read online were that they have to have fat in them. So I think the addition of olive oil and then just rubbing it in there with your hands, getting it all the way throughout, really gives these tortillas lovely flavor. But as we fry them off later, you're going to see that it also kind of creates these little air pockets and these little bubbles, which makes them that little bit lighter. Lovely, look at that, super fast. So here I have some hot water and I'm going to pour that in. I could use my wooden spoon like a normal person, but I'm just going to put my hand in there and bring my dough together. We use hot water because we want that to hydrate that flour and the masa really well. You'll almost like see it plump up. When adding in liquid to any dough, sometimes even pastry, I don't add it all in and I hold a little bit back just in case I don't need it all. In this instance, for my dough, I'm going to use all those drops. Lovely. So I'm going to be honest with you, I wouldn't have had a corn tortilla until I was 25 and moved to the US. It's just, not something that you would find in Ireland. Until today, you can find some fantastic food from Latin America in Ireland. A lot of people traveled there over the years and brought back those lovely flavors and the culture to Ireland. I will tell you now, I love tacos. So I am all about this recipe right now. Okay, lovely. Look at that. Ball of dough, clean bowl. We're on the right track. Do. Onto our countertop. I'm just going to bring that together with my hands, give it a quick knead. There we go. Lovely. A really lovely soft dough to work with. Nice. Take your knife or your dough divider and we are going to divvy this up into 12 to 15 even tortillas. I'm gonna make my life easy and let you know that each ball of dough weighs around 45 grams. So somewhere in and around there, just so you get the same size tortilla every time. So I've been wanting to test this recipe for a while. And one day when I was at home and George was watching cartoons, I decided like this is a good time to test this recipe while he's, occupied. And the dough was really easy to make and I just knew it was just really lovely to work with. And I was like, George would probably love this. So I made the dough and I brought him over the tortilla press to do some tortillas. And he stood there for, I'd say, around 20 minutes and pressed tortilla after tortilla after tortilla.
Let's see how big it is. Wow.
Watched his show, moved on, stacked the ones he had just done and then just kept on going. It was so cute and so adorable. And then at the end of the day, he had the tortillas for his dinner and he absolutely loved them.
How was it?
So good.
So good. Yeah. You're a fantastic cook.
One trick I've learned as a mom over the last few years is when I involve George in his food and what he's eating, he will always eat it later on, which is just fantastic. I feel like I've succeeded when I see that happening. Once you've got your dough, just do a quick little round up in your hand. You want to do this quick. We don't want the dough to hang around and for it to get dry. And then just pop them onto a plate. Doing the little bit of all-purpose flour in here makes the dough easier to work with also, so that's why I like to add it in. Okay, so that's our dough. Here's what I'm gonna do. Like I said, we don't want it to dry out. Otherwise it'll be very difficult to roll later. Cover it with some cling wrap. Set them over to the side, room temperature, let them relax for around 30 minutes. Let that gluten relax and they'll be so much easier to roll out and work with later. So I'll be seeing you in a few minutes. Okay, now for the rolling. I can feel with the resting that the dough has softened, which is what dough does when it rests. You know, pastry, bread dough, anything like that. When you let it rest, it releases liquid and it gets a little bit wetter, which will make it easier to work with. So I'm going to show you two ways. You can roll it out by hand on a floured surface. You can take your dough ball and roll it out to around 6 inches in diameter and get it as round as you can, as best as possible. Let me see, 6 inches. Oh, I have to say, this is my party trick. I can always get it right with the diameter. 6 inches, just like that. Nice and thin, not too thick. It'll plump up a little bit when it cooks. So this is a nice thickness. So that's option number one. Option number two is a tortilla press. Now, I have to say, I'm not one for gadgets and you know that at this stage, but I ordered one of these online because I just thought it would make the whole process faster when we were doing our shoot for them. I'm going to link this on my site with the recipe. It wasn't the cheapest on the market, but it wasn't crazy expensive and it makes life so much easier. So we have our dough in there between two pieces of parchment. We are going to press it, hence the name tortilla press. Lovely, round, flat tortilla in no time at all. We're going to stack those over there and then just continue with the rest of them. So this is really fun with the press and it makes life so much easier. So I feel like you're more inclined to make them more often when it's such an easy process. And I have to say, after seeing George make them that day, I emailed his school and I asked, could I go in and make tortillas with the class? And let me tell you something, going into a preschool class full of 4-year-olds and making tortillas with them so they could have their own homemade quesadillas is probably one of the cutest things you could ever do. Super sweet. They all had their own little ball and they all pressed it. They were awesome. There we go, another tortilla ready to go. So just keep on going with the rest of your dough. So here I have a cast iron skillet. I have it heated to around a medium, a little bit lower. You don't want it smoking or too hot, but you do want to get it nice and hot before you start frying these off. So on we go. And here's the thing, I'm going to set a timer, don't guess this, to around 30 to 45 seconds per side. It doesn't take long, but you don't want to overdo it. But in quite a short time, you'll start to see little bubbles form on top. And that is the water and the oil in there. If your pan is smoking, make sure to turn it down. That was 45 seconds, I'm going to flip it over. Lovely, so we have some nice brown scorched bits around the edge. This is looking good. We don't need too much color here. Our timer is about to go off, so it should be done on the other side. Now here's what I do. I flip it over one last time, back onto the original side, and look at this. There you go. Often when you do that third flip, it will puff up full of air, just like this, giving you a lovely light tortilla. Wow, it's just getting bigger and bigger. That's gorgeous. So let me just show you while it's hot off the griddle. You can see those layers. You can see that it's a little bit lighter than a traditional 100% corn tortilla. And that water and the oil in there gives you that kind of almost flakiness. Continue cooking off as many tortillas as you want. And don't go over 45 seconds. We just want to get them lightly brown, like I said. If we get them too brown, they're going to end up being hard at the end. Being able to experiment with breads from different countries and cultures is just so satisfying to me as a baker. These are easy to make, they're fun, and they're such a versatile food. You can have them by themselves, you can have it as a quesadilla, or you can do my favorite thing, which is make tacos out of them. I'm pretty simple when it comes to my tacos. I like protein. I like sour cream and guacamole on top, a little bit of cheese in there, and then some spicy sauce on top. This is a fantastic meal, and how great is it to be able to tell somebody you made tortillas from scratch? This is the kind of food that gives me all the feels on the inside. It's comforting, it's warm, it's cozy, it's carby. The flavor of tortilla is so good. If you take anything away from this video, just know that it is so simple with just 4 ingredients to make your own tortillas at home. And believe me, it is well worth it. I hope you're inspired to go out, get the ingredients and make these homemade tortillas for yourself, and you'll know how satisfying they are. Thanks so much for watching. I'll be back here again, same time, same place next week. I'll see you then with a brand new recipe. Delicious.